Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Thursday, May the 2nd, 2019. Good to have you all here for our second of two shows this week. Obviously, we are on the air late tonight. My apologies for that. Had a little bit of a situation, which, we've been having a lot of, and I do apologize for that. I'm doing the best I can with the situation. We're working on it. That's all I'm going to say about it. You know, it's part personal and part, technical, but we'll work it out. We'll see what we can do about it. But yeah, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but anyway, we're on the air late. So thank you for your patience and your understanding, and let's get rolling here. As always, as we start the show, let me remind you all the ways which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtag IT Spotlight 411 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And as always, you can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page once you find it and are on it. Okay, so like I said, we're on the airways. My apologies for that. We don't have a lot tonight. It's an all entertainment show. We'll give you the usual stuff. Box office beat, the TV highlights will be back tonight. I mentioned the show description that we'll be doing some stuff with Avengers Endgame that will pretty much be through the box office beat, and a couple other things as well. The other discussions that I mentioned, when it's okay to spoil, subverting expectations and critiques. Those are the two special topics that I mentioned. Um, that I mentioned on Tuesday's show that we're going to do tonight. You will notice that we did not put in the show description summer box office preview. I decided to wait on that another week. I kind of was. It's weird because I wanted Mike for my co-host Mike for the spoiler discussion, the subverting expectations thing, but I also want him for the summer box office. And ultimately, I didn't think I could do both, so I decided to wait on the summer box office. I thought maybe that would be more something he'd want to do. So, yeah, so I decided to do those tonight. Now, look, before somebody says, well, wait a minute, by the time you do summer box office, we're already going to be 2 weeks in. So what? Okay, it's not that big of a deal. All right. We've done it before, but we've done it 2 weeks in. All right. The only difference is that most of the time that was done when, the first summer blockbuster came out, um, the first week of May instead of the last week of April, which has become a trend the last couple years with Avengers. So, look, it's not that big of a deal. We all knew Avengers were going to make the kind of a lot of money, and this weekend didn't have feature anything huge anyway. So, it is what it is. Okay. We'll still do it, and you still got pretty much the whole summer to talk about. So it's not that big of a deal. Okay. So we'll do that next week. Next Thursday, I believe, unless something changes, and that will be that. So you can look forward to that discussion on next Thursday's show. So summer box office preview will be next week, and then tonight we'll do the spoiler stuff that I want to talk about in the subverting expectations discussion that I wanted to talk about. As I said, next week there'll be two shows, Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday, sports and wrestling, like we did this week. Entertainment on Thursday, and I mentioned what we're going to be doing with entertainment, box office, TV highlights, and of course, like I just said, summer box office preview. And then if we have to add something else, we'll add something else. You all know too that next week we're gonna have two shows, and then the week after we're gonna do one. That could always change. I might decide not to do that one show that week, but we'll see what happens there. Right now, it's currently scheduled. Like I said, if anything changes, I'll be sure to let you all know. Um, let's see. Um, oh yeah, let's see. Okay, so that's what's coming up as far as tonight and next week and beyond. Um, so yeah, so I won't go any further with all that than that. That's the important information you need. And again, if anything changes, I'll let you know along the way. Um, Before we get started, though, I do have to mention a loss today. Peter Mayhew, who plays Chewbacca, passed away at the age of 74. Um, which again, you talk about all the Star Wars players that have been lost: Kenny Baker, Carrie Fisher, and now Peter Mayhew. So with the saga, in a lot of ways, ending this December, it just adds more to that. Um, but yeah, it's obviously a devastating loss. You never really saw him on screen, but he so much of his body language and the way he projected, the facial expressions was really what made Chewbacca Chewbacca. So it's a huge loss for Hollywood, for the Star Wars family. So we want to express our thoughts and condolences to the family of Peter Mayhew. May he rest in peace. A tremendous, tremendous loss. He dies today at the age of 74. Um, all right, so I wanted to mention that off the top of the show tonight to get things rolling. Not to get things rolling, but to get things started, I should say. It's a better term. Um, um, okay, so with that being said, we can get going here again. An all entertainment show, but we still, as we do during the NBA playoffs, we still cover NBA. There are NBA playoff games going on. And I'll give you a couple of quick score updates here. I'm also trying to post the stuff I'm also trying to post stuff on social media here. So my apologies if I'm kind of distracted. Um, let's see here. I'm just trying to get the score updates. I saw him earlier, but we also want to wish well to this Boston Celtics president Danny Ainge, who suffered a mild heart attack yesterday. I want to wish him well and a full speedy recovery. Okay, here's what we're at right now. East semifinals, game three. Philly beats the Raptors 116-95. So Philly's won the last two games. Huge, huge, huge turn in this series. So big, big win for Philly here as they have taken control of that series. And that I think that's the only game tonight. It is the only game tonight. So we don't have any score updates to talk about. That's the only score we have to talk about is that score. So um, everything else we'll just wait to Tuesday to talk about. So yeah. Um, so that's the only score we have. And again, everything else we'll talk about on Tuesday. Um, okay. Now, let's see here. All right, so we don't have to talk about the NBA anymore. So the rest of the show will be all entertainment. We'll start off with the box office beat, which again will tie in with Avengers Endgame, while a couple other things that we talking about tonight. Um, so obviously, when we went into last weekend, we went into it with the idea that we knew um, that this movie was going to make a lot of money. Okay, um, we knew that it was potentially going to be a record breaker based on the tracking. It just depends. It just really depended on um, how much. Um, what would be um, where would it end up? That how much would it beat the record by? And the record, of course, was the record set by Avengers: Infinity War for the opening weekend. Also the other part of this was, what would it do worldwide? Because the speculation going in was that the worldwide total was going to be over $1 billion, which is unheard of, never happened before. Could it reach that point? And if it did, would that set it up to potentially be Avatar for the number one worldwide movie of all time? Well, here's the thing. It did. Endgame did hit $1 billion worldwide. Um, and then some. It ended up at $1.2 billion. It ended up beating the record set by Avengers: Infinity War by 100 million at 357 to 257. So something about Avengers and sevens. 207 was the first Avengers breaking the weekend record, and then you had last year's 257 and now 357. Um, so a crazy start, even beyond what you would have thought it would do. Just a crazy, crazy start for Avengers Endgame. Which, look, if you look at history, okay, and what it did in its first weekend, okay, both worldwide and domestic, it sets the table for it to potentially be Avatar and to potentially even break the Force Awakens' domestic record over 900 million. It sets it up to do that. Um, Now, the thing is, when you talk about some of these movies, whether it's Avatar, Star Wars: The Force Awakens, Titanic, they all open during the holiday movie season, and that gives them a tremendous advantage because, kids are out of school, a lot of people are off. So you got a lot of holiday off days in there, and that's ultimately what helps you build that money. But in the case of Avengers Endgame, it made so much money in its opening weekend, and if it does what people suspect it could do this weekend and breaks a second weekend record, it will make up whatever it doesn't make in weekdays. Because see, that's what's going to happen, and it's happened already this week. It has not done as well on the weekdays as some of these movies have done in the past. Now, those movies might not have had the opening weekend that Endgame had, but they had better weekdays, which means better holds. But again, if Endgame keeps pulling in the good weekend numbers, it won't matter. And here's the other thing. At this particular juncture, and this is going to be the big story all summer of this of the year for film, because if Avengers Endgame beats Avatar, it's a huge deal because that's a record that I think people had begun to lose hope that would ever be broken. Because when you look back at the last decade, okay, how many times have we sat here, not just me, but anybody that's a film prognosticator, anybody that's interested in film, how many times have we sat here and said, well, look at a year and look what's going to be released, and you say, well, that film, this is the year it's going to happen. That film can do it. That film, I think we've said it about easily about 10 times. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part Two, Dark Knight Rises, um, um, the first Avengers, um, Avengers Infinity War, Jurassic World when it started out. I'm trying to think of what else. Star Wars: The Force Awakens at the pace it was going. Star Wars: The Last Jedi. That was just a few. There was a feeling that maybe the only movie that could beat Avatar was Avatar itself. When James Cameron finally gets around to making those movies. But then you get the perfect storm. Infinity War comes really close and ends on a cliffhanger and spends a year hyping itself. And then you get the good word of mouth, and then you get the momentum and the promotion and a crazy fan base that's ready to go see a movie 4 or 5 times, sometimes on the first weekend. That's a recipe for what you're getting. And if you look at these weekday numbers again, they've been all behind Star Wars: The Force Awakens. But again, you're releasing this movie in April and early May. Another week you'd have the college students because a lot of them be out of school just on exam weeks. And even still, it's a tough time of year to get people on the weekdays to see movies. But the weekends can do it. And again, if Endgame does what people think it could do, or maybe even exceeds expectations, it's going to be. I think it's going to be fine as far as beating Avatar. I think the harder climb for this movie is going to be the domestic record because you're already seeing, if you look at the numbers, Avengers Endgame is doing crazy numbers in China, which is because that's hard to do for a US film. Very hard to do. That's the reason if you look at the weekday totals yesterday, it made a huge jump internationally to add to the worldwide total because I guess there's a holiday in China right now and it's a holiday weekend. So for the next few days, it's going to do better weekday numbers. And there's a few holidays in other international territories which could help it build itself up. That's the reason why I think it's going to beat Avatar because it's going to. I said this last week. In my opinion, if it had a chance at beating Avatar, because everybody kept making the point, well, it's the summer movie season. It's very competitive, and even though Endgame has a few weeks to itself, which is why opening it in the last week of April was a big thing. They did that with Infinity War too. Gives it an extra week to itself. I felt that Endgame there was a benchmark here, right? It had to break the opening weekend record in the US, which it did by a lot. So that made up the ground it was going to lose on the weekday totals to like you saw this week. But it also had to break $1 billion worldwide to make up the difference on what it was going to lose on weekdays. It did that and then some. Okay. Now, my opinion was second weekend it had to exceed expectations or get a certain benchmark. But here's the thing: the bottom line was that by the time Detective Pikachu came out on May 10th, Endgame had to be right around maybe 2.3, 2.4, 2.5 billion dollars worldwide. Now you might be saying, why did it have to be that high? Wouldn't 2 billion be enough? You don't want to take any chances. Okay, because it's a 3-hour movie, and once it starts to lose screen, it's going to be harder and harder to climb that mountain. And you got more movies coming out the back half of the month. So my opinion was, if you get to that 2.3 or more benchmark before May 10th, there's no way in which you do not beat Avatar. It's just a matter of by how much. Because you only have to make up, what's it, 400 million? And if you add the territories, it's not hard to break 400 million over the course of what, 1 month. You'll probably have 1 month left in theaters before you peter out to the point where you don't make enough. And then here's the other thing: even if it did peter out faster than people think, you don't think that Disney and Marvel are going to re-release it just enough to get it over that hump? Come on. So if you get to that benchmark, the only thing to me that would be in question was whether you could get to 3 billion. And I still think that's on the table, because if it let's see how the international numbers are over these next few days when there's holidays. Because if they end up being what they were yesterday, 3 billion is very much in play. Like if it comes into, let's just be hypothetical here, because everybody's been asking me this question. What does it have to be at next Friday, May 10th, when Detective Pikachu comes out? Because that's the big competition here into the back half of the month. What does it have to be at in order to potentially hit $3 billion? And I said it has to be over, I think it has to be about 2.5, 2.6 billion. That's where I think it has to be. Could it get there? Yes. How? But look at where it's at right now. Right now, this is through yesterday, folks. Through yesterday. Okay, it's at 1.6 billion. If it has another day like today, okay, it's already over $1 billion worldwide. I mean, internationally. If it has another international day like today, where it jumps like it did today, it'll be at 1.8 billion before you hit Friday. Maybe more, maybe a little more. So what are we looking at here? With the holidays and international territories, and with the potential for it to do what, 160, 170 at the low end in the US, it's going to get to at least 2.3 billion. At least. Maybe more. So if it exceeds expectations, it can get to 2.5. So there's this, to me, and I said this to you all before, where it ends up is, we'll know where it's going to end up when we get to next Thursday, the day before Detective Pikachu. Where it stands on domestic and internationally and overall, it'll tell us the whole story, because that's when it's going to start to drop considerably. It'll still do well in its third weekend, but and a lot depends on what Detective Pikachu does, but that's where it's going to start. After the third weekend, it's going to start to fall to a point where it's going to be harder to make it churn off those big chunks. So, and then you start losing screens at a ridiculous rate, and so it really has to do a lot of damage over this next week to be able to break those respective records. And like I said, I think it's going to be a harder thing to break the domestic record than it is the international and then worldwide, because it's already in very good position right now. to break Avatar's record. It's in very good position. So we'll see where it ends up. But obviously, this is the big story of the year as far as films go, and it's the story of the summer. And look, I've already seen the movie. It was tremendous. When we do film reviews and bring those back, I'll make sure to talk about it. It was tremendous. Um, I mean, for it to break even, given all the cost involved, and to do what it did is crazy. And look, it's something that it's a special, unprecedented thing that happened. 10 years of build up, what Marvel has done, and it's just crazy what they've done. People go crazy about the superhero genre, and it's ruining. It's not ruining Hollywood. It's showing you what people want. Look, yes, we do need different types of movies in theaters. I get that. But the reason why people flock to these movies is because it's escapism, and it's good. It's good. It's good storytelling. That's the reason why they flock to it. It's the reason why you go to the movies. That's why it works. So again, a great start for Avengers Endgame, and obviously we'll keep tracking it as it goes along. That was the story at the box office. It was the only new release that opened to a $357.1 million um, opener. Got its whole budget back in one weekend. Um, because of the success of Endgame, which is typical of a Marvel movie doing well, it pulled Captain Marvel up with it back into second place, moving up from fourth with $8.3 million. So that movie gets a nice little boost and continues to add to its total now. Um, so that helped them. And then after that, you had The Curse of La Llorona, last week's number one movie, dropped to third with over 8 million, a 69% drop, which you'd expect. And you had Breakthrough dropping from third to fourth with 6.8 million, and then Shazam dropping from second to fifth with 5.5 million. That rounds out your top five, and also all your movies over 5 million. Everything else was under $5 million. So it was all about Endgame, and that's why we talked about it. There's no other big stories, and then the fact they pulled Captain Marvel back up with it. This weekend, I mentioned, is all about Endgame again. You do have four new releases, one of which is a small release called El Chicano, a drama from Briarcliff, opening in 605 theaters. Um, Again, it's R-rated, not a lot of known people in it. Joe Carnahan's a producer on it, but don't expect that to do much of anything. If it makes if it makes $1 million, be happy. Other than that, you got another smaller budget release from Sony Screen Gems, The Intruder, a thriller opening in 2,222 theaters, starring Dennis Quaid. Again, don't expect much of it. Maybe look at like 2.5, 3, 4 million tops, $8 million budget, so it doesn't need a lot to break even. Then you also have a comedy called Long Shot from Lionsgate Summit, opening in 3,230 theaters, starring Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen. Been very well reviewed, R-rated, gotten some good buzz and some good promotion too. They attached it to Endgame, they attached it to a lot of different big movies over the last couple months. I think this is the only movie that has a chance at doing anything else this weekend, and even that I can't see making about maybe 8, 9, 10 million. Maybe it'll piggyback on Endgame. I don't know, but that's about what I could see it doing. And then you have Ugly Dolls, an animated film from STX Entertainment, opening in 3,652 theaters. PG. It's got a $45 million budget. It's starring the voice talents of Kelly Clarkson, Nick Jonas, Janelle Monáe, Wanda Sykes, Emma Roberts, Jane Lynch, Ice-T, and Gabriel Iglesias. I don't think this is going to do well. It hasn't gotten really much promotion. I mean, it's a flashy concept. I think they should have waited on it. Again, I don't think Endgame's the one that's going to really hurt it because, any kids and families that were going to see Endgame probably already came out and see it unless they're waiting till the crowds die down, which, if that's the case, then Ugly Dolls is probably not going to do well at all, or not do much of anything at all. But, again, I just don't know if there's a lot of interest here, even if, Endgame wasn't a threat, or if it was a threat, no matter what the case, I don't know if there's not enough people interested in this. Okay, so what do you think? People have already seen Endgame. The people that would want, kids and families have already seen Endgame, and they would have a chance to come out and see Ugly Dolls, or whether you think that people are waiting to see Endgame and they'll see Ugly Dolls first. Whatever the case may be, I don't think it's going to matter because I don't think it's going to do very well. So it's all about Endgame this weekend. So Avengers Endgame will be the number one movie. I'm going to go low, just like I did last week. I'm going to go around 170. I think it's gonna exceed that, but that's what I'm gonna go with. 170 million for Avengers Endgame. I think a long shot will be at second place. I'm gonna go about 8, 9 million, um, which is a very low second place, especially when you consider what Endgame's gonna be. But that's the way I see it going. Um, I actually think that Captain Marvel will come in third. I think it'll hold up decently enough and around 6.5 million, 6 million, and I think everything else will be under 5 million. I actually, well, I take that back. I think, what do you call it? Um, Ugly Dolls would be around 5 million. I think everything else will be under 5 million. So, if I mean, Endgame's going to carry the box office again, which it will result in a good weekend because it's just that movie alone. But everything else, I don't expect much from. So it's all about Endgame, and it's all about Endgame because of obviously the fact that it's been built for 10 years, right? That's what's helped it get to where it's at. And one of the big topics going into Endgame's premiere and its debut in the U.S. and internationally was spoilers. Don't spoil the Endgame. And you heard, they did this campaign last year, Thanos Demands Your Silence. Don't spoil Infinity War. And they did this again this year. And this is not just a topic in regards to Endgame. I'm going to do this now. We'll do the TV highlights at the end of the night because it makes sense to do this right now because we've just been talking about Avengers Endgame. One of the big parts of it was spoilers, right? People didn't want to be spoiled. Most people did not want to be spoiled. I didn't mind being spoiled, but most people don't want to be spoiled. But they launched this campaign, and it's not just Avengers Endgame that people worry about spoilers of. It's television shows. You saw that with Game of Thrones. There's been a lot of discussion about people spoiling Game of Thrones and other big TV shows and other big films. Now, one of the questions I've gotten a lot over the last couple weeks is when is it okay to spoil something, whether it's a film or a television show, and what can be done about spoilers in the future. And here's the thing, okay? Again, I don't mind spoilers. They don't ruin things for me. In fact, they help me to enjoy things better. But here's the thing, folks. To me, there's a simple rule when it comes to spoilers. One rule that applies to film and one rule that applies to TV. And they both kind of fall in the same vein. It's that, TV, acts a little bit differently because it could be something that's weekly, okay? Whereas a film is, could be once or, once every few years that film franchise comes out, or whatever the case may be. A film is almost like a one-time thing, and a TV show could be weekly or, whatever, more regularly. If it's a TV show, okay, once it airs, now I know some people are going to say, wait a minute, if you live on the East Coast or Central Time Zone, don't you want to wait to start talking on social media, talking to people about it until after the West Coast gets it? No. Because see, here's the thing. People have to have some accountability. You have to. Because if you really don't want to be spoiled about something, don't look it up on social media or stay away from social media or stay away from people that you know are going to spoil it for you. It's easy to do. Especially for a TV show, because unless you know of a place or a source where you can get spoilers weeks in advance, you really only have to avoid it for a few hours. Like if you live on the West Coast and something airs on the East Coast, you only have to wait 3 hours before it airs for you. Just stay away from things for 3 hours. It's not that hard. To me, once the first time that airs, that's it. That's it. I'm sorry. So, like, if you're watching Game of Thrones, it airs at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on the East Coast. Okay, stay away from social media and places that you would find spoilers until you watch it, until it airs later if you're on another coast. And if you don't get the chance to watch it that night, because I'm sure people lead busy lives. Okay, people lead busy lives. I get that. Not everybody can always watch things right away. It's understandable. Okay, if you can't watch it, it's on you. Try your best to stay away from things. If not, if you can't stay away from things, you get spoiled when you get spoiled for you. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. You can't have people walk on edge like, oh, I can't talk about this, I can't talk about that because somebody might get spoiled. That's too bad. I'm sorry, it's too bad. To me, once a television show airs for the first time on its respective network, that's it. Or once it's out on Netflix or Hulu, whatever, that's it. I'm sorry, that's it. Tough luck. It's on you at that point. It's out there. It's been released. People are able to talk about it. And the same thing goes with film. It's in a different way. It's the same thing. Like unless you have a source where you can get film spoilers weeks in advance, there's no reason once a film comes out that you have to keep things to yourself. Like 2 or 3 weeks before you know what's going to happen in a film, then yeah, you probably should keep it from people just as a courtesy. It's like you would a TV show. But once it's released to out to the masses, whether it's in the U.S. or I guess it's kind of hard if something gets released in the U.S. and doesn't get released in certain international territories, and you want to spoil it for somebody else. I guess that's a little bit different. It makes it more dicey, but still, if it's out in most territories, okay, including the U.S. and like if it's like let's say it's out in like 10, 11, 12 territories. Well, I'm sorry, it's out there now. It's out there to the masses at that point. If a few territories don't have it, then I'm sorry. It's do the best you can to stay away from things. Stay away from spoilers if you can. If you can't, I'm sorry. There's nothing you can do. I mean, again, it's to ask people once something is pretty much released to the public to keep their mouth shut for weeks on end because you didn't get the chance to see it that night, or you gotta wait to see it because of your job for an extra week. That's inexcusable and ridiculous to ask people to do that. I read one tweet from somebody that said, "Well, I can't see it. I can't see Endgame till May 21st. So, people should wait about a month before they start spoiling things." Are you kidding me? People from the movie themselves are already talking about. The directors are already doing interviews talking about stuff from the movie. You can't possibly ask people to keep their mouth shut for a month. By the time a month is over, people don't even want to talk about it anymore. At least not enough, not that regularly. It loses almost its relevancy in a way. Come on. Instead of a TV show, oh, people need to wait at least a week. No, they don't. If you don't get to something, if it takes you a week to get to a television, which some people binge watch, I get that. That's on you. That's on you. You can't expect everybody else to keep their mouth shut. It's not fair to them. I don't care if your reason's legit or not for why you didn't watch something. You can't expect everybody else to shut up. You can't. Now, like I said, if 2 or 3 weeks before something's released or something airs, you know something that's happening and you spoil it, that's different. But once it's released publicly, once it airs, once it's out there for the majority of audiences to see, you're out of luck. I'm sorry. To me, that's the rule. If it's whenever a TV show first airs, whenever a film debuts to the bulk of audiences, that's when it's okay to spoil things or to talk about things from a TV show, or a movie. I mean, people do live tweeting during TV shows. You would tell them to stop doing that? Come on. To me, it's that simple. Some of the things I saw over the last few weeks with regards to spoilers were ridiculous. I'm sorry, ridiculous. Just be courteous, and then once it's out there, it's out there. It's fair game. Be courteous before it's out there, and once it's out there, fair game. Simple as that. Simple as that. Now, another big issue, in addition to spoilers, that I've seen lately that I want to talk about was subverting expectations. And really, this has been an issue for a few years now. And it's come up in TV discussions, and it's come up in film discussions. It came up big time in film discussions after The Last Jedi was released, because that movie, for many people, did exactly the opposite of everything that people expected. Now, again, kind of like with spoilers, one of the things that social media cultivates, okay, like, okay, it's more, there's more opportunities to get spoiled on things, right? But there's also more opportunities, and with with social media and message boards, there's also more opportunities. And just in the spoilers, more opportunities for speculation. Because when you're on message boards or when you're on social media, you discuss things to the point where you almost, like, if you're a part of like rabid fandom, like Star Wars or Marvel or DC, where when you talk about these movies and you talk about these TV shows, okay, and really any film or TV show, but especially ones with high fandom, rabid fandom, you talk about things to the point where you almost mention every single scenario that's possible. It's very rare that you don't mention a scenario that ends up that's not possible, right? A unique scenario. So by the time something airs or by the time something's released, you made it so that no matter what you're given, you're almost going to be disappointed, or it's not going to come off the same way. So that almost in some ways sets things up to fail for some people. Some people aren't bothered by it, like me. I can sit there and talk about something, a topic, like I can sit there and talk about a Marvel movie for 3, 4 years, speculate about different things they might do and all the kinds of things. And it's not going to bother me whatever they do. I might not like it, but there's going to be other reasons besides, well, they just didn't do what I wanted to do or what I guess they would do. And that's what you're seeing. Is because it wasn't what you wanted or what you thought would happen or what you guessed would happen, because you want to be right. You want to be that person that guessed it right, or you want to be that person that got what you wanted. But here's the thing, folks, okay? If you don't get what you wanted, if it's not something that you guessed, that doesn't mean it's bad. It might be bad for you and a few other people that agree with you, but not bad for everybody. And that's something that I've seen over and over and over again. And look, opinions are subjective, okay? I get that. I There's no right or wrong. But what burns me, and that's why I put this in the show description, subverting expectations and critiques. I've seen it more and more with each passing year. You see people critique things, and they go, "Well, I thought this is the way it was going to go, and this is garbage." That is not a reason for something to be garbage. To me, it's a reason to be disappointed. It's a reason that something can be disappointing to you. It's a reason why something might not be enjoyable for you. But that does not make something garbage. That does not make something a bad movie or a bad TV show. That does not make it that way. In your eyes, it might come off that way, yes, because it's not something that you enjoyed, because it's not something that you wanted or guessed or whatever. That's fine. You can stand and say, you know what, my personal opinion, I didn't enjoy that because this is not what I wanted for these characters, or not what I wanted for this franchise or for this film or for this television show. That's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But to label it absolutely as bad, as garbage, is completely and utterly insane and ridiculous. And it comes and makes you look like somebody that it's not somebody like when you go on message boards, you go on social media, you want to read people, you like hearing people's opinions, you want to read what they have to say and what they think, but it makes you not want to when you see ridiculous assertions like that. I'm more apt to take your opinion with more credibility, more seriously, and to look at and want to discuss things with you and say, "Hey, well, what did you, well, how, okay, you thought this was disappointing. Well, okay, is it just about the fact that you wanted this to happen, or was it just the execution of what that was that made it disappointing for you?" Like you can actually have a good discussion with somebody about something if about an opinion if it's constructed properly. I know people are going to say, "Well, I don't want to have to think about my opinion. I just want to say them." Well, you're supposed to think about what you speak. If you don't think about what you speak, you can say some stupid things, or you can say some horrible things or offensive things. So you should think about what you say. When I write a review, or when I give a review, or when somebody asks me my opinion about anything, even if something is terrible to me, yeah, sometimes I say things as absolute. I say, "Oh, that was a bad movie," but I try not to do that, and most times I don't. Most times I'll sit there and go, "Well, see, for me, I didn't enjoy that. Here's why. I didn't think this worked, or I didn't think this worked, or whatever. My opinion." I don't sit there and go, "Well, this didn't work. Terrible movie. You don't know what you talk about. Terrible movie. Well, you don't know what you talk about. Terrible show." I don't do that. Do you ever hear that expression? One man's trash is another person's treasure. That's TV shows. That's films. What one person thinks is gold, the gold standard, somebody else could think is completely and utterly trash. It's the way it is. So when you see, I went and saw The Last Jedi a couple years ago. Remember, I spoke very highly of it. I didn't think it was a bad movie. I still don't. Is it what I would have done? No. But doesn't make it a bad movie. I think there's parts of it that I think there's a lot of it that I think actually works very well and could do some interesting things for Star Wars. Was it the right decisions creatively? Probably not. But if I watch it as its own movie without thinking about the rest of the franchise and where it where it probably would have been better off going, in my opinion. If I think of it that way and think of it as its own isolated film, I think it's probably a pretty brilliant film. But when you consider it as part of the canon and the franchise, it hurts it a lot. That's the difference. And I talked about that, I think, a while back. But I see people, early on when the first Avengers Endgame reviews came out. Oh, well, this is not what I expected. This is not what I wanted. This is a terrible movie. Garbage, 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 garbage. Thankfully, those reviews were few and far between. And now you even seeing some positive reviews. People say that they don't like things, but they also recognize why those choices were made. And, for them, they didn't like those things. And a lot of it came down to the execution of those things. But that doesn't mean that they thought it was a bad movie. They found a lot of enjoyment and so thought it was a fairly good movie. I can read those. And again, you can have a negative opinion too. I'm not just looking at positives here. You can have a negative opinion and have positives in it too. You can say, you know what, I didn't enjoy that, but there were parts of it that I did enjoy. Here's what those were. Those are the opinions and those are the things that are said that I like to read. Because it at least shows you that you really took the time to think about what you were saying and look at everything as a whole and go, you know what? It wasn't just I didn't get what I want. That's why I hated it. It was this is the reasons why I hated it. This is the reasons why I was disappointed. Subverting expectations is not a reason to be disappointed. It's not a reason to think something's bad. It's just not. I'm sorry. It's just not. You see it with Game of Thrones. The ending of Game of Thrones. I'm not going to spoil it. People are like, well, this is not what I expected. It's not what I thought built up. Even though the show built it up for most of its run because it wasn't what a lot of people wanted. Well, this show has fallen off, man. Oh, this is bad. This is just okay. For you, it might be, but for a lot of people, there's just as many people that liked that as there's people that hated it. So to go around labeling it, which I saw a lot of on Sunday night, go around saying, "Oh well, nobody likes this." That's not true. This means the show is garbage. That's not true. You can say you didn't like it. You can say that it's garbage. But to act like that every single person agrees with you, don't speak in absolutes because that's not the case. Surely you can make the argument sometimes that there's a lot of people. You can make the generic statement, "Oh, a lot of people agree with me," and you're probably right. But don't act like every single person that watches the show agrees with you, or every single person that saw that movie agrees with you, because that's where you get into trouble. the absolutes. That's where you get into trouble. And look, these topics that I just talked about, spoilers, expectations, subverting expectations, and critiquing, and these are going to be topics that Hollywood is going to have to face. And really, even sports faces it now. But this is going to be topics that, especially, I mean, we're talking more about Hollywood here. This is topics that Hollywood's going to have to face down going forward, and it's not going to go away. It's just not. It's just the world we live in now. And you keep hoping that people give more reasonable responses. Because if you do, then you can. It makes it a lot easier to tolerate that people feel that that's just the reality of things. So you know, I just thought both these topics were worthy of discussion because you keep seeing them come up more and more and more and more and more. So I thought they were worthy of bringing up. And again, I was going to bring them up when Mike was around, but I don't know if he'd have much to contribute anyway. So we'll probably bring him up again. So you'll get his opinion on it eventually. But I don't want to go any further because I've said all I wanted to say, and I don't want to go into a full-on rant because I'm already losing my voice. That's happening a lot lately, and people have been saying that to me. They keep sending me mail like, "Hey, why do you keep losing your voice?" I don't know. I think it's just dryness. To be honest, I think it's my allergies, but that happens. What are you gonna do? But anyway, I just wanted to touch base on those two topics. I thought they were interesting. They've been coming up a lot, especially with Game of Thrones, with Avengers Endgame. They came up with The Last Jedi, like I said. They come up more and more, and it felt like a good time to bring those topics up and do a little bit of discussion on them. So that's what I did. All right. So with that, we only have one more thing left on the show, and I said that I think I said on Tuesday I thought the show would go an hour, and it's looking like it's going to do that. So, which is fine because, like I said, I'm losing my voice. So, um, yeah, so let's go to the last topic of the night, and that's the TV highlights of the week, which we haven't done in a few weeks. Um, no Mike tonight, so we don't have him to kind of guide us and offer up some different TV. And lately, he hasn't been mentioning much TV anyway, so it's not like he's been helping us out about the segment, which is why we haven't been doing it a whole lot. Because for a while there, I haven't been able to get too much TV, but lately I've been able to get to a little bit more. I caught up on Gotham. I really enjoyed where they went with the ending of the final episodes. Um, Again, the show is not the best written show. I felt like season 4 was probably the best writing they ever did, but it's crazy, it's fun, and there's something usually in every episode there's something that goes down that is really kind of like transcendently good. So it's a lot of enjoyment. Look, it's a show that's gonna be remembered for just doing its own thing, which once it started doing that, it really got better. And it's a shame that we can't get a full on Batman show with those actors because I really enjoyed that, but. Look, they the final they finished as strong as they possibly could, given the constraints that they had. And kudos to them on a great run and a run that I really lasted about 2 years longer than I thought it would. So good for them. And again, it's been really enjoyable to see how they finish things up. Game of Thrones, I thought was really good. I'm probably one of the people in the minority that liked the episode on Sunday as far as the way it was shot. I didn't think it was too dark. I thought I saw what they were going for with the way that it was put together. I saw what they were going for, realism, and that probably wasn't the most best creative choice, but I saw what they were going for. I loved the ending. I loved the build up. I thought it was worth the hype. Kudos to them. A very well put together episode. Miguel directing again was great. Really enjoyed it, and I look forward to what they got going on because it's been a great first 3 episodes, especially Sunday's episode. So. What else? What else have I watched? Um, in sports and wrestling, and let's see. I know there's something else. Not. Let's see. Oh, I saw a little bit of the Blacklist. And I'm interested enough to want to go back and catch up with it because I kind of fallen behind on that. It feels like a different show though. Like I don't know. I know that there's been some change. They're talking about making some changes. They go into season 7 and some cast changes and such. But boy, it feels like a very different show. I mean, yeah, you still got the blacklister and you got the case and everything, but boy, there's so many serialized elements to it now. And and again, it's since day one, there's been serialization in there, but it feels so much like, the stuff with Red and Liz is used to be like a backdrop and used to it used to come through in the case. Now it feels like it dominates most of the episode, and you got the case kind of as the backdrop, the kind of like the afterthought. So it's a little bit different, but I enjoyed what I saw. I mean, it's I think it from what I saw, it was better than when I kind of stopped watching for a little bit, which was last season. It kind of got. I mean, it's right after they killed off Tom, and I think I watched the episode right after that, and I thought it was good. But then I was like, you know what, I really don't. It was kind of predictable where I thought they were going to go with Liz, and then I kind of was like, okay, I'll get to this when I get to it. I never got to it, so. But from what I saw, I thought it was fairly solid. So yeah, I'd recommend that, I suppose. I can't think of anything else that I watched because since let's see, over the last few weeks, is there anything else I tuned into? I mean, It's been busy with holiday, Easter holiday, and then everything else that's been going on and sports and yeah, I can't think of anything else. I know it's only three shows. Again, I get to what I can get to. It's kind of hard. You have it when you have a 1-year-old at home and other things going on. But yeah, I think that's it. I know it's the shows I've fanboyed over in the past. I apologize, but that's I watch what I watch. I watch the shows that I like. I don't really get the chance to try out too many different things because I have to follow sports and wrestling and other things too. So yeah, that would be the only ones I have for this week. Hopefully, maybe I'll offer up more. Hopefully, I can offer up more next week, especially with season finales and stuff coming. And maybe if Mike's around next week, he can offer us some different things because he usually watches a lot of different unique things more so than I do. So my apologies for that. I wish I could offer more, but I offer what I can offer. It's the way it goes. I'll probably at least catch up on the DC shows and over next week, so at least I'll have those to probably offer you next week. Um, okay. Really quick before we start to wind down, a couple of our fans asked me. I know it's not a sports show tonight, but they asked me my thoughts on the Kentucky Derby. We don't really do horse racing on the show. I don't think I've ever done this before. I don't have any thoughts because the favorite got scratched, which really effed my thought process up a little bit. Um, so I really don't know. I mean, I'm going to end up, you know, making a pick, but I know I kind of have to look at it a little bit more. Um, I don't know. It's hard. I mean, I heard a lot of people are high on Roadster. Mm, I don't know. This is a tough one because I see some horses. Um, Game Winner's now the favorite because Omaha Beats got scratched, but I don't know if I buy in the Game Winner. Let's see. I like War of Will. Now it's supposed to be rain, so this it's gonna be sloppy. Yeah, I think I like War of Will. Game Winner's good. War of Will, and I think I like Maximum Security. I think those would be my three. Can't tell me what order. I mean, Game Winner's the favorite, so you figure maybe he has the best chance, but those would be the three I like based on what I've seen and what I know. So I thought Omaha Beach was probably going to win it, but now it's kind of it makes it interesting though. It makes it more money on the table and more wide open, I guess. So, but yeah, if I look if you had asked me, that would be it. And I guess War Will does better on swap, and it's going to be swappy on Saturday. It's supposed to be a lot of rain, so which they had a lot. Rain was an issue last year, so go figure. Yeah, so that would be what my thoughts on it. Um, again, it should be a wide open event, so that adds to the drama of it. I don't think you're going to get a triple crown this year like you did last year, which kind of hurts the events going forward. But for this race alone, the Kentucky Derby, it's a wide open field, so that makes it fun. So we should have some fun with this. After that, though, I mean, obviously there'll be some people that hope that okay, maybe this horse can pull off a triple crown once it wins the first race. But once that you all know as well as I do, once that horse loses that second race, you lose a lot of the air for the last regular triple crown. But that's neither here nor there. And again, right now it's about the Kentucky Derby, so. But yeah, we'll see how it goes on Saturday. You get 6 hours of build up for what 2 minute race, which I quite frankly think they should just do an hour. But it's they have to cover something, I guess. It's May. It's not a lot of things to other than NBA and well, I shouldn't say there's not a lot of things. You got NBA playoffs, you got NHL playoffs, you got baseball. There's plenty of things to cover. It's just they want to cut. It's horse racing only is big and hugely popular as far as national TV this time of year. Um, so I guess they got to milk it for all it's worth this time of year. So that's why you get a 6 hour pre-show and then you get the actual event, which lasts 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is. So. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Kentucky Derby. So with that being said, I gave you a little sports tonight. So there you go. With that being said, we are done for the night and for the week. As always, the show might be over. Does not mean you have to stop interacting and contributing to our show. Continue to have your voice heard. Send us your questions about the show and discussing show topic ideas or breaking news on various sports, entertainment, wrestling that you want us to cover. Topic ideas and breaking news on various sports, entertainment, or wrestling that you want us to cover. I think I already said that already. I'm sorry. It's been a long week, long day. Reactions, comments, opinions, and things we talked about on the show. Any things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And you can find us on Facebook. Just search In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page once you find it and you're on it. Again, follow us on social media so you can keep up with the show, know what's going on with our schedule, interact with us, and all of that important, fun, cool stuff. So to do all that, make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Search us on Facebook for our show title In the Spotlight 411, and make sure you like our fan page. And then, of course, go on Twitter and search for us at IT Spotlight 411, and then you can follow us on there as well. 2 ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. You can stream us anytime on YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on YouTube. And when you do, you'll be taken to our show page on YouTube. You'll find every episode we've ever produced for YouTube going way back to mid-October 2015. Every episode we've ever done from that point on is available to you on YouTube. Just go over to YouTube, search for In the Spotlight 411, and you'll have access to streaming those episodes. If streaming's not your thing, maybe for to listen to us on the go, or you're interested in older episodes of the show. If any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Just search In the Spotlight 411 on Podbean and iTunes. And when you do, you'll be taken to our show pages on both sites where we have access to every episode ever produced in over 8 years been doing the show. So every episode from Blog Talk Radio, from Talk Shoe, from our runs on both those platforms, and of course all of our episodes from our current run, both from Google Plus and now YouTube. Those episodes, of course, transfer into audio format for your convenience. Every episode we've ever done is available in audio format for your convenience, from the most recent, that being tonight, way back to the oldest, way back in October 2010. Episodes available for you to listen to anytime you want, whether it's an old episode, want to check an episode again, you're a long-time fan and wants to look back at episodes from a few years ago, a new fan who wants to check out episodes like that for the first time, or missed a part of an episode, whatever the case may be. You can do all that and more on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. To search In the Spotlight 411. So again, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, your ways to keep with the show and look back at classic episodes. Search In the Spotlight 411. Again, just search for In the Spotlight 411. Mike's not here tonight, but a shout out to him. Hope everything's going well for him. He'll be back with us next week. I want to thank myself for an okay show. At best, I did the best I could considering we started late. And of course, I want to thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. So I'll be watching, listening to this later in archive. Thank you to you as well. Again, thank you for your patience and understanding with the late start tonight. Again, we're working on it. Hopefully, things will get better with that. Um, I wasn't at my best tonight. I'm a little tired and my voice, but I did the best I could. Hopefully, I gave you as best a show as I possibly could. We had a good show on Tuesday, I know that, but I was hoping for a little bit better tonight, but I did the best I could. So hopefully you enjoyed it and got something out of it. Again, next week, 2 shows, both at 10 o'clock Eastern Time here on YouTube. Tuesday, sports and wrestling, all the usual stuff we have to cover. Next Thursday, entertainment, box office BTV highlights, summer box office preview will be next week, and maybe some other things too. We'll talk more about that on Tuesday. I'll actually give you some more information about what's going to be coming up with the show over the next couple weeks or next couple months. I'll tell you that next week. And again, the following week, there is one show scheduled for that Tuesday. It could be canceled. I don't know yet, but right now it's currently scheduled. So if anything changes with that, I will be sure to let you all know going forward here. So there was only one NBA game tonight. That was the Raptor game. I told you the Sixers won that, so they now control that Eastern Conference semifinal 2-1. That was the only NBA game going on tonight. And obviously, we'll talk more about the NBA playoffs on Tuesday. So, all right, that's it. I hope you have a great rest of your night, a great weekend, and a great start to week next week. We'll see you back here this coming Tuesday night, May the 7th at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, have a good weekend, everybody, and have a good night.